Okay, this is chapter 10, second project, online notepad. So we will make an online notepad similar to Google Docs, where you can create an account, create your documents, edit, format, and print them. You can also access them from different devices. So let's begin by creating an empty project. Once you've created the project, you're going to select ASP.NET Core Web MVC template. After that, you're going to give it a name like Online Notepad. Click on Next in the authentication type and select individual accounts. Perfect. Once you've done that, okay. Individual accounts means that each user has their own account. They can register to log in to the application and access their own documents. So with this, Visual Studio will generate the relevant database tables and the authentication code for us to get started quickly. Now, if you work with an enterprise authentication system, you might select other options, but individual accounts is a common choice. So next, the first thing we want to do is create a model. Once you've created your model, you're going to create a file, a class called document, where you will create the online notepad. And then you will add the following code, and it just explains the code. We will be doing the same thing for our program.cs file. And yeah, let us begin. So right now I have my document class, and I'm just going to explain the code. So using Microsoft ASP.NET Core Identity provides identity features for the user authentication. Using System Component Model Data Annotation Schema enables foreign key relationships, and using the System Component Model Data Annotations provide validation attributes like required, So here we have public class document. This just represents all the documents in the online notepad system. Here we have the public int ID. This is just a primary key for the document table. We have public string title, which is the title of the document, public string content, which is the content of the document. And then over here we have require public string user ID. So this is the foreign key to link the document to a specific user. Require just ensures that the document cannot exist without being tied to a user. Then we have public identify user. This is a navigation navigation property to the identity user who owns the document. So the foreign key user ID specifies that the user ID is a foreign key. After that, we have the application DB context. Right. Just explain the imports again using Microsoft ASP.NET Core Identity Entity Framework Core. Provides the identity interrogation with the EF Core. Using Microsoft Entity Framework Core provides the EF Core features for the database access, and then using online notepad models imports the document model. Public class application DB context identity DB context. Application DB context is the main database context for the online notepad project. It inherits from identity DB context, which means it already includes tables for users, roles, and authentications. Okay. Here we have public application DB context with the options and the base options. So this is a constructor, and it receives the DB context options and passes them to the base class. So this allows the EF core to configure the database connection using the connection string. Lastly, we have the public dbset document. dbset document represents the documents table in the database. And this just allows you to query, add, update, and delete the document records. Now, our final file is the program.cs. Okay. I've already explained the imports, so we can just dive into the code. Okay. Here we have file connection string, builder configuration get connection string, default connection. Throw new invalid operation exception, connection string default connection not found. So this is going to retrieve all the connection string from the app settings.json. and that's going to connect your application to the SQL Server database. Okay. Next, we have Builder Services, Add DB Context, Application DB Context Options, Use the SQL Server connection string. So this is where you register the application DB context with a dependency injection container. This allows controllers and services to access the database via the EF call. So here we have build the service, the Add Database Developer Page Exception Filter. This adds developer-friendly exception pages for the database errors. Right, now we have the build services add default identity identify user. This configure identifies services. And the app identity sets up the user authentication with the identity user. Then we have option sign in require confirm account true. So true means users must confirm their email before signing in. And then we have add entity framework store application DB context, which connects the identity to application context so the user data is stored in the database. Okay, then we have the builder services add controller with views. So this is where we add the MVC controllers and views to the server containers, and this is where we will be building everything if it is successful. So that is it for chapter 10. We will continue with chapter 11 in the next video.